Alright, so thank you very much for coming. My name is introduced as Suhail Sharif from Afritrack, and I'm here to present the solution for TrackMIS, comprehensive management information systems for tracking an IoT company. So it's like an ERP for tracking companies. Just before I get started, Musud, I need some help with this timer so I can keep track. So I'll start while he's doing it. So the objective of TrackMIS is to provide tracking and Internet of Things companies with a specialized end-to-end ERP or MIS to manage their business. And the whole basis of it is that it takes care of the back office administration portion, so you have more time to spend on actually growing the business. So the origins of TrackMIS obviously started with Afritrack. We've been in the business for 13 years. We have grown quite well over the 13 years, but we've had severe growth pains. So I like to think of it as that we've probably done every conceivable mistake we could do, and we probably will make a few more. But the plus side of that is that every mistake we make, we grow and we improve and we do things a little bit better. We've always been led with this philosophy that don't worry about that stuff, just sell. Let's just get the revenue in and then we'll clean it up later. And it did work to a large extent, but later comes a lot sooner than you think. And once you get very far ahead in the game, going back and cleaning out all that data is a lot more effort than if you just entered it right the first time. So some of the challenges that we faced while we were growing and expanding, and some of you may have faced some or all of these, is one is the billing nightmare. We have customers who have 300 trucks, 200 trucks. Every truck, it's a prepaid service. So we bill them at the beginning of the month. During the course of the month, 2 trucks go out of service. He bought 10 new trucks. All that prorated billing, which units are reporting, which units are not reporting. It all just becomes a very big nightmare for us in reconciliation. Therefore, we have a billing staff of 3 people just doing that. Defragmented data. What I mean by that is that for every truck, there's a, first of all, there's a customer name. Then there's the particular asset. Then there's the IMEI of the unit that you installed in that truck. Then there's a SIM card. There may be a satellite provider, and then there's a wireless ID. And they all have to be linked because, God forbid, engineer goes out to a site for a truck that's not reporting. He does a little bit of troubleshooting. He takes out the old SIM card, puts in the new SIM card. It's working, bam, close ticket, go. Now guess what? You don't know which SIM card's on the truck. You don't know which SIM card's in his pocket. And most of all, you're paying for both SIM cards. So those are the defragmentation I'm talking about. Collections, of course, is straightforward. Cost of sales waste, the example of the 2 SIM cards. Now you don't know which one is actually on a truck and which one's in someone's pocket. Inventory management with devices flying out the store at an alarming rate. It's very easy. You close orders, then you realize you don't have enough stock. And stock is complex because there's not just tracking units, there's fuel probes, there's driver ID, there's buttons, there's all sorts of things. Sales funnel management, just managing your sales funnel better, and order fulfillment. So what can you do if you find yourself in these similar kind of things? One is that you can choose to pick an existing ERP. It won't be perfect, but you can then try and connect it. And that's what we did first, one of the many mistakes we also did. So Zoho, Bitrix 24, SAP, Microsoft Dynamics, trying QuickBooks online, trying to get everything to talk to each other. Finally shelved it and said, okay, let's just do the hardware and build our own systems. Before we start building, we say, okay, what's the purpose of it? One is, and I know this sounds very cliche, but is to have all the information on a single platform at your fingertips at all times. Yeah, it's easier said than done. Second is to have a system that actually enforces your processes and workflows. Yeah, so you keep on training your people. We do A, then B, then C, then D. And you step away, they go from A, B, and then jump to D. And And the only thing you can go back and penalize, why didn't you do C in this? Whereas we'd like a system where you actually cannot do D until C is ticked. So that's the thing. And third is, of course, to be able to sit at the beach, open your iPad, get every heartbeat of your business, from inventory to cash to collections to order fulfillment to sales, close it and enjoy the rest of your day at the beach. That's at least what I would like to be doing. So we started developing this thing, and we have a process. And the philosophy of how we designed the system is following our natural business progression. So there's 5 major functions at the top. It starts with actually managing how well do you close your sales. Once you actually close your sales, we move to the next function, which is order fulfillment. How do you actually deliver exactly what you sold and make sure it's done well? And then it's revenue assurance, make sure you invoice on time, because if you delay to invoice, you delay to get paid. Then it's inventory management and customer relationships, retaining the customer. And I'll go through all of the 5 in brief. Apart from those 5 functional things, there's another 4 functions that cut across the whole organization and are relevant for every stage. One is managing our expenses, cash and bank balances, money in, money out, just keeping track. Not a financial package yet, but just keeping track of every dollar and dime that comes in and out of your business. Second is dashboards, KPIs and analytics. And the one thing that we have learned a lot is that when we're managing people, they would be indisciplined or not so thorough because they're not being watched. So they're used to you watching them. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Okay, yes, boss, I'll do it. You step away, tomorrow is the same thing. As soon as those analytics are obvious, and they're on a dashboard and they're on an iPad on top of his table, yeah, you may never look at that, but he knows everybody can see, and so now he starts managing himself. So the whole basis we've built this is about people manage yourselves better. Context management is fairly obvious, and then user privileges and security, because obviously this is a lot of data in the company. Not everybody in your company needs to have access to all that data. So it's restricted. If you're an installer, you see installer material. If you're the finance manager, you will see collections. So these cut across all. The best thing about it is our integration with Wireline. So we have integrated straight with Wireline. By integration, I'm not talking about our system goes to Wireline, gets all the information dumped, and then populates our database. I'm talking about a live two-way interaction. So now when we have a new customer, we don't add them on Wireline, we add them on TrackMIS. And guess what? Lo and behold, TrackMIS pushes it to Wireline, please create customer, then please create a user, then create an asset, and then associate this asset to this user. And it's all done seamlessly. That way, you can be sure of one thing, is that if you are tracking it, someone is paying for it. And that's the crux of the matter. Nobody can go and add illegal or unknown units. Yeah? And likewise, Wireline can also inform TrackMIS. So before you do a bill run, you can see all these units, the last reported. If you're about to run a bill and you see a particular unit hasn't reported for 18 days, you know, oh, maybe I should investigate before I fire off this bill. So it's more interaction. When you open a trouble ticket for a truck, it can pull in the last known location, the last reported time, then you can begin to do some troubleshooting. So when you first log in, you get a bird's eye view. The default one, and this is customizable according to who you are in the company. So if you're a support person, it'll be support related things. But the default is just you have top tiles up there, total customer count and movement since the last month. So 700 customers, up by 1 from last month. You have total invoiced this month, up or down from last month by percentage, and actual collections this month, up or down. Then you have a little thing about your top 5 selling products, so you get a snapshot of what's selling and what's stagnant. Yeah? And then a little list of the most recent activities. So as you log in, you see, oh, we invoiced so-and-so 500 trucks, but there must be a mistake. So you can catch things fairly early on the audit trail. Moving to the sales management, which was the first of the 5 functions. So the way we manage our team is first to get a lead. And a lead is not quantified. It's somebody, I found a trucking company in so-and-so. Then you engage and you find that it's actually an opportunity. So then we open an opportunity in our system. An opportunity now has number of units, total ARPU, average revenue per user. So now it's quantified and that opportunity is now delegated to a salesperson. It goes through the process. From there we can generate performer invoices, otherwise known as quotes, to the customer. You may generate several quotes for the same opportunity. He says, yeah, give me a quote for 200. Okay, let's try 50. Give me another quote for 50. He says, okay, fine, I'll start with 10. So now you have various quotes. So you give him the performer for 10 units and track the progress as it goes. The rest is fairly straightforward. I'd just like to point out the key things is the service order form. One of the many mistakes we've made is we get a customer, we sign a contract with him. He wanted 50 trucks, we make a nice contract, it says 50 trucks. 2 months later he's added 10. Guess what? We don't have a contract for 10. And we forgot to add an annex. And when they expire and the trucks go on an accident and stuff like that. So the contract very quickly for us became quite irrelevant to the reality. Yeah? So we developed now that the contract is a framework agreement. It just says you and I will do business like this. If you pay, I'll do this. If you don't pay, so and so. Nothing about quantity. Every confirmed order he gives you is a service order form. And a service order form is generated from our system, detailing exactly what we're delivering, all the services, and a checklist of onboarding. Yeah? It helps us to deliver exactly what we say we will sell to the customer. The good thing is that the sales quote also has an approval process. So either you tick that every quote needs to be approved by the sales manager, or if it is outside the price range you have set, then it needs approval. If it is in the range, no approvals needed. This avoids the instance whereby somebody went and sold something, they come back and says, oh, I got a confirmed order, and I'm like, what the hell did you just sell? You know, so it avoids that, especially with rookie sales, new salespeople now come to. Then we go to order fulfillment. So once the service order form is populated, it goes seamlessly into the next process. And in the order fulfillment, first it goes for scoping. So the technical operations coordinator, he looks at the solution sold. You sold trucking, Africa-wide roaming with a fuel sensor. So for this, I'm going to allocate a Gurtam. I'm going to allocate one fuel probe, one driver assist panel, and a global roaming SIM card. As he allocates this, it picks it straight from the store. So it does two things. One is that it reserves that particular serial number of the unit, so now nobody else can take it out of store because it's now in process, even though you have not pulled it out yet. And number two, as it pulls out the particular equipment, it pulls out its landed cost exact. So once it's all scoped, it then goes for a second approval, and this is usually the CFO. And the CFO gets a beautiful picture. It's called profit and loss. This is what we sold. This is the total cost. And in scoping, he also says, I'll use 2 engineers, 3 hours each. The system, you put your price for your own engineers just for cost basis. So when the CFO sees, okay, this is a good deal, second approval goes, and then it goes into actual installation. As soon as it's approved, the stock requisitions get printed. So now the engineer just takes the stock requisition, goes to the store, give me these units. They are specific serial number units. They're not just any fuel probe, they're that particular one. Number two, he has no explaining to do. It's for this customer, it's for that, or talk to this manager. No, it's just a requisition, give me this unit. And so it makes the work process much faster. We have a ticker board, which is a big screen like this in the engineer's room. every engineer has their tickets on there, and so they know exactly, as soon as they walk in the morning, they know the jobs that are scheduled for them. It helps people leaving the office by 8 a.m. so they just start doing installations. And finally, once it is installed, it is then provisioned. And it is at that point whereby that information is pushed to Warlon, the unit comes online, we can see, the customer can see, and the customer signs off the service order form as completed. So, after the order is complete, then we go to revenue assurance. And we all know EBITDA or net profit is cosmetics on your financial books, but the thing that actually matters is cash flow. Cash flow is king, and cash flow is all about collecting on time. Collecting on time is about invoicing on time. Invoicing on time is about installing it in good time. So our revenue assurance function has several modules. One is the recurrent billing, invoicing, collections, pretty self-explanatory. Suspension is when you've decided to suspend a customer either manually or automatically. What happens is suspension, nothing gets affected on Wylon, except the customer can't see their trucks, but you can see it. So you can still track it, because when you suspend, you are hoping to unsuspend soon. So the customer hopefully feels the pinch of not being able to see, comes running back and pays you, and you unsuspend it. In case you terminate it, it permanently stops the billing cycle, and it takes off the unit, not only from Wylon, but SIM card, satellite, everywhere else you are paying for cost of sales. And then contracts and service order forms renewals, as I mentioned. Inventory, pretty straightforward. It gives you reports of the reorder levels for each particular unit. So as they're coming low, somebody is flagged to order. Order processing, order management is the process whereby we would walk into the office and say, okay, I need 500 reteller devices. That process can take anything between 2 to 6 weeks to actually arrive, because first the order has to go out, then the payment has to be made, then the shipping, then the clearance, then the delivery to the office, and all of that. The beautiful thing about order management is that when we place an order, there's a cost allocated. When you pay for the freight for that order, it's associated to that. When you pay for duties and customs as it enters the country, it's allocated to that. Once you receive it, you have to scan each individual unit, and their serial numbers are tracked, and it combines all the costs divided by the number of equipments you've received. So now you have an actual landed cost for that particular device. And that's why you may find in your store you have two Technoton probes. One's landed cost is $102, the other one landed cost is $89. It's the exact same unit, but it could be freight on that day was a bit higher, delays at the airport was a bit longer. Yeah? So we go then to the last functional area, which is customer retention. So making the sale is 50% of the challenge, retaining the customer is the other 50%. So we have the customer service module, whereby you can create tickets. The way we've built it is that you can create tickets that work in your organization. What I mean by this is that in our organization we have 3 types of tickets. We have a trouble ticket, which is a ticket per individual asset. We have a service ticket, which is a ticket for a customer, not a particular truck. So for example, I can't see a report, or I can't access this domain. That's a service ticket. And the third is an incident ticket, which affects many customers across the board. So let's say Wylon is down, that's an incident ticket, and it's associated to every customer. Whereas if you just say Vodafone SIM cards are down, it will associate only those customers which have a Voda SIM on their thing. So there's no need to send alerts to people who are not affected, telling them, sorry, we have a little bit of network downtime, because they don't. So it's very targeted. We have the issue logging per ticket, so there's a complete history, workflow management, and of course key performance indicators. You have a daily ticker on how many tickets were opened and closed, total current tickets opened, service tickets open, incident tickets open. The average open time of all tickets and close in the last 30 days, and ATTC's average time to close in the last 30 days. So you know your average time is about 15 hours. Of all the tickets in your system, averaged out is 12 hours. If you were to go out and close all of them today, you get 12, you'll improve your average a little. So it just keeps everybody on alert and keep a track on all tickets at the same time. This dashboard is for the whole company. You can individualize it to per technician, per department. Yeah, so it's very easy to track them. Now, if somebody were to use this, obviously there's a lot of company information on some sort of a cloud. There will be a lot of concerns, some reassurance is needed. So two specific things that we've done. One is on data security, there's two-step authentication. So the possibility of somebody hacking your password or sharing or so is reduced. The second is IP whitelisting. So if you choose, you can whitelist particular IPs or particular IPs of a whole country that they can access your system and anybody outside. So for example, if we're in Tanzania, we have no reason for anybody outside of Tanzania to be accessing our portal. So we would whitelist all of Tanzania IPs, or if we wanted to be really, really strict, our specific IPs of our office. Then nobody else can access. That helps to a good extent. And regularly expiring passwords. So every 3 months a password expires, the user will be emailed to log in and reset their password again. On business continuity, the database is backed up hourly at a database level. The code is backed up almost pretty much in real time. And in the event of everything going wrong, we have enough data of the last 1 hour to rebuild the system from scratch in 4 hours straight. So we have a standby server waiting somewhere else, and if anything, the last 1 hour's backup can be restored. Yeah, but that's in the worst eventuality. So now this is coming towards the end of my time. So the beta launch is today. Yeah, so it's brand new, it's beta launch, it's tested in the office and all of that. However, we need to get customers' experience, customers' feedback, and things like that. So we'll be doing that for the next couple of months until we hope to launch the commercial version 1 on the 1st of January, and 6 months later we'll be launching version 2. Why version 2? Because we'd love to have a lot more features which we couldn't pack into version 1. And I'll give you an idea, just a snapshot. So version 2, some of the things that we will include is integration to a financial package, such as QuickBooks Online, NetSuite, some people may use SAP or so. So the ability to integrate directly. Whenever there's a transaction in TrackMIS, it fires it up with the account codes to your financial package. Second is integration to more third-party players. Right now it's with Wireless immediately. Second step is with all the SIM card providers, satellite providers, so that it's seamless. When you terminate a unit, it terminates across the board. Third is the strategy management module, whereby your company, you may set your strategy for the 1 year, and then you want to keep track of how it's going. And the beautiful thing about this is that because every single process runs through the system, all your KPIs dashboards can be captured, so you can see the effectiveness of your strategy in real time. And then HR and project management. Yeah. So this brings me to the end of my presentation. If you would like more information, you can visit this website, put in your name and email address. I'll send you this presentation, and then we can schedule to have a little bit more discussion about that. Or you can catch me here in the conference or by email. Before I close, I'd also like to recognize my colleague at the back there, Musin Suma. Musin Suma is the chief architect and the lead coder in this project, for which without him we wouldn't have it as well. So thank you very much for your time.
Probably 1 or 2 questions.
Yep. That's great presentation and a very nice system. How is this distributed and what is the pricing model? Is it a cloud solution? Can I put it on a premise? And is there a mobile app to this one?
So, one is it cloud-based? Yes. Is it hosted? No, not yet. And we have a mobile app now. But this one works even on an iPad, even on a phone, because as it's squeezed.
Adaptable?
Yes, it's adaptable, but it's browser-based.
Where do you host it also?
In the US.
In the US?
Yeah.
Amazon or?
Is it Amazon Cloud? No, it's a data center in the US.
What's the price?
Sorry?
What was the answer?
It's on the cloud, it's not on Amazon.
What's the pricing scheme of that? Is it modular or it's an entire package?
So it's an entire package. We will add modules later, which may be, some people may need, some people may not. But it'll be based on a minimum per month spend, so you have access to all the modules, and then it's per unit that you add on it. Per trackable unit, per billable unit.
So if we already have our own CRM, we were using Salesforce, but we're interested in just creating the trackers and following up with the process. And
Yes.
talking. Can we select like a specific module, or we have to get the entire system?
So currently as it is the entire system. But we can talk about interfacing or integrating.
So right now we can just get access to the beta version.
Yes, yeah. After this session, I'm happy to engage more, even give you a walkthrough, even a demo, then you can see whether it works for you.
Okay, one more question.
How long did it take you, Surya?
Hmm.
How many versions you scrapped?
Well, this is version 1, but it has taken a good 10 months at least. 10 months, because keep in mind we built it for our own business initially, and then we kept adding modules. So we built it in modules, but it's taken a good 10 months.
10 months is very fast.
Yeah. And first version is very early.
Yes.
How many developers were working on this one?
So Mohsen is the lead one. He has a couple of coders also in India and some in Tanzania. So it's a team of at least 5 people.
Sorry, but are there any limitation on the your targeted regions of facilities and languages? No limitation.
Absolutely none. And that's why we've not branded it Afritrack, because we want to keep it distant from Afritrack as a tracking provider. TrackMIS is a management information system, and it's not limited to Africa. So anywhere in the world. With regards to language, currently it's English. I can see a multilingual come in, maybe version 2.
Okay.
To keep track on the collection and the incoming sales, you currently cannot integrate with any ERP, right? It's coming in version 2. We're using Oracle now, but if I collect and I allocate my collection to Oracle, you have to be integrated with Oracle so it will show here, right?
Yes, but that wouldn't make much sense to you. If you're using Oracle and it makes a lot of sense, then it doesn't make sense to pull that data here. This is in the scenario where this becomes your ERP. So you first acknowledge revenue here, which knows it's for which customer, for which bill, and then that income is then posted to your ERP for financial reporting.
Okay, so if we already have our own CRM and our own ERP, we just have a pain in just keeping track with the billing of the subscription.
Yeah.
So we just use the first part.
Yep, we can start there, and soon you'll realize this is a CRM and an ERP and a billing, and eventually you can expand it.
Okay, thank you everyone for
Thank you very much.